Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. Won't you share with a friend or two? Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. And many more. And many more. And many more. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome, welcome, welcome to Daring Dialogues. I am your host today, Shantae Charles, and I want to thank you for your time and for your attention. We are back in the saddle this week with season 16, and we've been having a little bit of technical difficulty, so we're trying to just work some bugs out. But hopefully, we will be able to have our talking discussion guest with us as we move forward. So, today is Thinking Thursday, Theology Thursday, and I said to myself, I didn't know if I wanted to get into this topic because I said I don't necessarily, I don't really listen to this person. I don't necessarily know if I agree with all their tenets and all of that stuff. But because it has become such a touch point within our faith community, I said I want to say a couple of things about it. And then we're going to get into our reading, or hopefully we'll get into our reading. But recently, there was a conference that took place called the Woman Evolve Conference. It is an annual event founded by Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts that focuses on empowering women through spiritual and practical development. The conference aimed to help women evolve into the best versions of themselves by providing a platform for growth, connection, and transformation. The conference featured speakers, worship sessions, and a supportive community. It offered a space for women to bond, seek self care, and connect with like minded individuals. Now, she is a pastor and a Christian, but I believe that this conference is not necessarily geared toward just Christian women. Her tagline for the conference is Where Faith Meets Culture. Back in the day, probably in the 1990s, maybe. Good morning. Probably in the 1990s, we would have probably called her conference Marketplace Ministry. All right. Marketplace ministry, meaning that it is ministry that reaches out into the markets like financial markets, health industry, government. Marketplace ministry was something a lot of people knew about and understood. I don't know if somewhere between the 1990s and mid 2000s that language or that template or goal has been lost. But when I was in ministry in my early years, it was understood to us what marketplace ministry was. We were encouraged to touch all sectors, right, of general public life with our faith. So when I read about and I look at the premise of the Woman Evolve conference, I went and looked at the video, the like the promo video. I also went and looked at clips from the recent conference. I also went and looked at and listened to eyewitnesses, i.e., people who were there and registered and attended the conference in full. And I listened to what they had to say about the conference. Okay. So I'm saying this to look at the focus of this conference. Okay. The focus of the conference is designed to help women embrace their faith, their confidence, and their purpose. Again, the tagline for the conference is where faith meets culture. Okay. The conference addressed topics like having courage, having self-love. It addressed mental health wellness. It addressed financial well-being, spirituality, and more. So spirituality was a component of the conference. It was not the foundation or the conference. And I think the people who are making commentary on this conference probably don't know what this conference is actually about, because I keep seeing people call it a church convention or a church conference. Clearly, if you go look at her premise for this conference, it is not a church conference. It's more like a marketplace conference, because you have all of these other elements in here. Okay. It featured main stage and what they call plenary sessions or breakout sessions with renowned speakers. They had captivating worship during this time, and it was addressing the global community. It's supposed to be positioned as a transformative experience where women can surrender to God's plan. There's that spiritual component again, experience breakthroughs, and receive what God has for them. And this conference took place between July 31st and August 2nd. So now they're about maybe almost not even a week out from this conference, and people are coming online who apparently were not at the conference, because everybody I've seen a criticism from were not people who were at the conference, which is problematic in and of itself. There was a point in the conference during one of their breaks in their sessions where the DJ who was playing the music played about 45 seconds of Boots on the Ground. Now, go back to the title of this conference, or the tagline for this conference is Where Faith Meets Culture. What is Boots on the Ground? Boots on the Ground is a trail ride song that has swept the nation, and it has become a cultural touch point for who? Mainly Black people. It's become synonymous with Black joy. It has brought to the forefront Southern soul culture in places like Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. I think the actual guy who sings it is out of South Carolina. It has put Southern soul culture, trail riding, Black cowboys and cowgirls on the map in a very, I would say, positive light. I would say positive light. Now, do I dance to Boots on the Ground? I don't. Do I know the line dance for Boots on the Ground? I don't. But I am culturally aware enough to know that it is something that is being signified as a touch point for Black joy. We just said this conference is entitled what? Where Faith Meets Culture. So it is not out of the norm for this conference to play a snippet of that song. I just want people to have context while they're criticizing this conference. Okay. So the criticism lands on this song, Boots on the Ground, and people began to come out and say this is ungodly, this is demonic, this is inappropriate, it shouldn't have happened here. But if you understand what I just said about this conference, that it is in fact a conference where faith meets culture, then that actually does fit. the nature of the conference, because the conference was not just a spiritual church conference to begin with. I listened to the clips from eyewitnesses who pretty much said the same thing, that this was a conference that embodied or encompassed more than just the faith component. Fast forward, both financially. Listening to people, I immediately thought about, especially for the Christians who are really attacking this issue of the song, of the sound bite from the song. I thought about Jesus and the wedding at Cana. And I wondered to myself, has anybody gone back and actually read that story with Jesus and the wedding at Cana? The fact that, number one, it's a wedding, it's a cultural event, and Jesus is there. Now, technically, if Jesus were in our day, we probably would tell Jesus he doesn't need to show up at the wedding. He just doesn't need to, because he's Jesus. He's the Son of God, right? But there is a problem that comes up at the wedding of Cana, at the wedding of Cana, and that is the fact that the people have run out of wine. Not that they ran out of water, they ran out of wine. Now, culturally, in that time, people tended to give you the best wine first, and then they would start to, as they were running out, they would typically start watering down that wine. And so by the end of the event, people expect to not have the best wine or to not have the best quality of something towards the end. At that wedding, Jesus turns water into wine. Now, I don't even drink wine. So I would have had a problem with Jesus turning the water into wine. Me, yes, I would have had a problem. But Jesus turns the water into wine. He supplies the very thing that would keep the party going. As a matter of fact, the person that was leading the party tells Jesus that it feels like the best has been saved for last. So he doesn't let the wine go out. He allows the wine to be supplied. It is a miracle. It's actually the first miracle that Jesus does, is turn water into wine. Now, I wonder what kind of criticism these people have for Jesus for allowing himself to, number one, be at this cultural event. I mean, it's not a religious setting. It's not a synagogue. What are you doing, Jesus? What are you doing at this event? How dare you be at this cultural event called a wedding? And on audacity to take water, which is plenty of sustenance, right? Water is life. You have the nerve to take that and turn that into wine so these people can keep turning up and keep partying. How dare you? How dare you use your divine power to empower a cultural event? We could say that this is where faith met culture. A miracle happened in this cultural setting, not a religious one. And see, I didn't want to have to go preaching today, but this is where we are. What I am seeing, and as I was thinking about this and praying, Holy Spirit, should I address this? Should I talk about this? And Holy Spirit gave me this to share today. What I am seeing is that many of our Black churches, not just evangelical ones, but Pentecostal ones, holiness ones, are now becoming tools of Western, white, nationalist, supremacist Christianity. And we're getting to the point where some of you don't even realize how much of a tool you're becoming for westernized, white, nationalist, supremacist Christianity. Because I'm going to tell you two key foundational components of Western, white, nationalist, supremacist Christianity. One is anti-Black. Anything that has to do with Black culture is automatically demonized. It's automatically demonized. And number two, anti-woman. Now, if you happen to be both of those, we call that intersectionality. If you happen to be both of those, you can expect some sort of attack to come forth directed at you. So, because we are now in a time where westernized, white nationalist supremacist Christianity is being weaponized literally to run our government, we don't need to help it along. We don't need to help it along. And some of you are doing the work of the master, and you don't even realize you're doing the work of the master because you think you're doing it on God's behalf. You think you are saying these things because you are offended for God. I'm gonna ask you to go back and read Jesus at the wedding at Cana. And then I want you to think about how you would respond if you were in that day and you heard that Jesus, this so-called Messiah, was at a wedding, a cultural event, helping them to replenish wine. Would you have the same reaction? Or or would you just say, oh, well, that's Jesus? Think about it. Okay. Just something to think about. That's all I have to say on that. I think before we get into the habit of criticizing things that, number one, we did not attend, we might want to dig a little bit more into what the event was all about, who the event was supposed to reach, and did it do its job? Because the people that I did look at, the videos I did see from various people who I call eyewitnesses, meaning people who were there, who paid their money and attended, I didn't see not one video of anyone saying, I felt unloved, I was not edified, people were rude to me, the fruit of the Spirit was not demonstrated, I didn't learn anything from the speakers, I came away with nothing. No, I didn't see that. And I looked at quite a few videos. I took the time to find eyewitness videos to actually look at it and see what people were saying. So, as I said before, I do not know her personally. I've never been to her conference, but I felt like because of what I heard from other people in the critique zone, I felt it was important for me to actually understand what the conference was about, hear from people who actually went to the conference, and take it to God and see what would God have me to say on it. And that's what I did today. All right. I want to get into our next chapter in this book. And how to do better. This book is written by Dr. Maisha Cherry, and we are on the last main chapter of the book. This has been a very, very powerful book. If you are interested in understanding the nature of forgiveness, both from a Christian perspective and also a psychological perspective, this is a very powerful book. It deals with looking at forgiveness in on a national context. It deals with forgiveness when it comes to things like police brutality, when something social has happened to your community. And then it also deals with forgiveness in a work environment context, forgiveness for yourself, and forgiveness in a situation where someone you loved or you know has been wronged. So I really like the fact that she is very thorough with this topic. She doesn't just say, oh, you should forgive in all these conditions, but she actually breaks down the components of forgiveness. All right. Chapter 10 is radical repair. The author is making the case in this chapter that radical repair needs to happen with or without forgiveness. We're going to start this chapter today. We're not going to finish it. While everyone was making bread during the coronavirus pandemic lockdown, the writer says, I was discovering a different kind of hobby, Formula One racing. The sport is not as popular in America as it is in other parts of the world, so I didn't pay much attention to it until 2020. But once I was introduced to the motorsport through the magic of social media algorithm, I was hooked. Hobbies invite nerddom. Some might say they require it. Plus, I am obsessive by nature. I wasn't content with merely waking up before sunrise to catch a Sunday Grand Prix. I wanted to learn everything I could about the sport. I needed to know how the cars worked, the nature of the teamwork involved, the skills required of drivers, as well as the out of this world logistics needed to organize bi weekly races in different countries around the world. I would have never suspected, however, that this inquiry would also help me understand interpersonal repair more deeply. Before each race, the 10 teams participate in practice sessions. The purpose of a session is to allow the drivers to adjust to the track and external conditions and to make sure their cars are running well for race day. If there are problems with the cars, the engineers in the garage get to work. If there are any crashes during the practice or qualifying sessions, workers in the garage, in collaboration with those in the home factory, have only a few hours to repair the cars for Sunday's race. In addition to repairing the cars when they break down, the engineers and mechanics also perform maintenance on the cars both between and during the races. Oh, and it's called Formula One for a reason. Not all F1 teams' power units are on a par. The cars might look alike, but there are important differences under the hood. This is because every few years or eras, the International Automobile Federation lays out new rules and regulations that cars and drivers must follow. And each team, through innovation and ingenuity, creates a power unit that can succeed given these specifications. Teams that create the best power units are usually at the top of the grid and consistently on the winning podium. Currently, three teams are Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull. Who knows if this will last when the Federation provides new specifications? Formula One's cycle of innovation, maintenance, and mending reminds me of what's required in our own lives and relationships. Let's call this cycle radical repair. On our own tracks of life, we are striving to succeed but often crash, hurt ourselves and others, and fail to make proper adjustments. When this happens, we need radical repair. There are several senses in which we use the word radical in English. It comes from the Latin word meaning having roots, which explains why radical leaves refer to leaves that grow at the root, and radical surgery refers to surgery that aims to correct the fundamental problem. Then there's radical in the sense of progressive or extreme, which suggests that one is aiming for complete change or deviation from the norm. For these reasons, Martin Luther King Jr. was considered a radical when Jim Crow reigned supreme, and women suffragists were described as radical for their uncivil disobedience to win the vote for women. And then there's the surfer's truncated version of the word rad, which means excellence. Added together, the phrase radical repair, as I use it, refers to repair that involves addressing the root of a problem, aiming for change, and engaging in excellent teamwork. F1 is a sport that employs radical repair. Teams can't have lemons on the track, so experts are needed to address and fix the root of any car problem that arises. During each race, drivers and engineers make technical adjustments to help the car perform better than it did in the previous race. But to succeed, everyone must do their part. No matter how brilliantly the race is going, a pit crew taking a few seconds too long to change the tires can make the difference between winning a race and coming in seventh place. Similarly, both we and our relationships are in constant need of radical repair. Repair that gets at the root, makes the necessary adjustments, and is collaborative. It's a repair in which relief, release, and reconciliation feature prominently. In this chapter, we will shed light on radical repair, its relationship to forgiveness, and the necessity of attempting it, even if in the end it's not fully within our grasp. Getting at the root. Throughout the work, we have contrasted the worthy aims of forgiveness with what we have referred to as superficial repair. To better understand what radical repair requires and why we need it, I will be beneficial it will be beneficial to explain why superficial repair and its close cousin, thrifty repair, are inadequate to achieve the moral goods of forgiveness. So let's look at first superficial repair. Superficial repair is repair in appearance only. A person might request to the persistent anger or hurt they might feel. They merely hope their spouse will act as if everything is okay, even if it no longer is. Or a political leader might ask a racial minority community to forgive with the hope that their granting of forgiveness would communicate to the public that they can move on from historical mistreatment. Even if reparations are lacking, continual resentment remains, or present day oppression has yet to be addressed. In both examples, the people requesting are hoping that the forgiveness would produce superficial repair. This kind of repair aims at appearance in two senses. In one, its literal appearance, how it looks to others, how it looks from the outside. It's like opting for body work on a car over engine work. People who aim or settle for superficial repair are more concerned with how the relationship looks rather than whether or not the relationship is actually working. They prefer a shallow, surface level fix than the deeper, necessary repair. In another sense of appearance, superficial repair is concerned with temporary fixes. We might constantly refill our car with motor oil so that the oil light will disappear, but we never give it an actual oil change. Or our mechanic might decide to sculpt our brake pads instead of replacing them. The real problem might look like it's been addressed. The oil light disappears, the brakes stop grinding, but all of this are temporary fixes. Soon the oil light will reappear. After a few months, we will start to hear the grinding sounds each time we stop at a light because we haven't attended to the underlying issue. The problem quickly creeps back up, revealing itself. What might this look like in a relationship? A couple might forgive each other in order to change the way they talk to each other. Doing so may repair the way they express their problems. Perhaps the tone of their complaint is less hostile, but the underlying reason for the complaint, hurt, disappointment, repeated offenses, etc., remain unaddressed. A couple could also forgive to restore honesty, but if they do not try to fix the initial source of the dishonesty, they are likely to continue having problems in the relationship. In these two instances, it seems that the couple is achieving repair via forgiveness. However, because the repairs are temporary fixes that do not address the underlying issue, problems and ruptures will continue to creep up. In addition to superficial repair, there's what I call thrifty repair. This involves fixing only what is least costly or more likely to bring us comfort. This often comes at the neglect of the difficult yet necessary to attend to ruptures. Cheaper. Or we might fix the air conditioner but not the brake lights because the former will make driving more comfortable. We pay little concern to fixing the most pressing problem.
What matters most is cost and comfort. Thrifty repair can also occur by using cheaper parts, parts that will quickly deteriorate, requiring their own repair. A small community aims or settles for thrifty repair when they refuse to pay the cost for deep repair. They decline to hold wrongdoers accountable. They refrain from listening to all the victims, or they fail to implement compensatory measures. They might think that the victim's forgiveness is all that is needed to bring about repair without accepting the true cost. And because members are unwilling to accept and do what's required of them, they neglect important areas, deciding only to fix that which does not require much from them. When addressing the hate based violence that's been happening in their neighborhood, they might try to adopt policies that will halt violence or at least make it less likely. These policies will not focus, however, on fixing the cause of the violence, getting at the root. And that's because addressing the manifestation of violence is the least costly to fix. Addressing hate and other negative attitudes and perceptions in the community is more difficult and definitely more uncomfortable. But radical repair is different from superficial and thrifty repair in every regard. It attempts to get at the root of the problem no matter the cost. It's about fixing what's actually broken rather than opting for cosmetic repairs. It doesn't focus merely on the symptoms, but on the cause. Now, I am going to stop right there. And next week, hopefully, we will continue to look at this concept of radical repair. I want you to, as you continue this week, I want you to think about an area in your life that you feel has had radical repair. And then I want you to think about an area in your life where you feel like you have had superficial repair, that there are still things that possibly need to be resolved. That can be personal, that can be community. And as we know, if you live here in the United States, we are in a nation that is superficially repairing a lot of stuff. Right now, we're in a nation that is radically breaking stuff as well. I was having a conversation with someone last night about the fact that it's been, what, 8 months now? Something like that. 8 months. And the things that have been radically broken is going to take generations to fix. Like they were quickly broken, but it's going to take generations to fix them at this point. Even if we get back to, you know, the House and the Senate and all that and the midterms and that goes well, it's still going to take generations to fix what was broken. Some things have been broken and we don't even know how they were broken because our representatives were locked out of the process. They were literally refused entry into buildings while they were breaking systems. So we have essentially saddled, I would say, Generation Z, Generation A, Generation Beta, well, Generation Alpha, Generation Beta. We have saddled them with another 30 to 40 years of fixing what was just broken in 8 months. I know that's not it's not a happy message, but it's a true message. And so we have to think about that. We have to think about that as Gen X and the millennials and the boomers. We have to think about what is going to happen to the generations behind us as a result of these 8 months. And essentially as a result of these 4 years, if he lives to see his 4 years. Because some things health wise with him are definitely alarms, or they should be alarms to the American people. All right. So think about that. see if I can attempt to invite Mr. Lockett on. Um, you might see me pause or disappear for a moment as I try to add him in. So let me try to do that now. Okay, Ben, I just sent you a link. Hopefully, that link will allow you to come in. Please let me know. And good morning to those of you who are on here as top fans. YouTube is adding all kinds of bells and whistles to the platform. It's something happening every quarter, it looks like. But thank you for joining us. If you have a question about the reading, you can drop that in the comment section. Again, the book is Failures of Forgiveness, How to Do Better, What We Get Wrong and How to Do Better. And it's by Dr. Maisha Cherry. She is a professor of philosophy at the University of California. And she's also the author of The Case for Rage, Why Anger is Essential to Anti-Racist Struggle, and also Unmuted Conversations on Prejudice, Oppression, and Social Justice. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, can you hear and see us okay?
I can hear you.
Can you see us?
I can see you. I can see you.
Perfect. I can see and hear you as well. All right. So I've talked about two conversations here. Um, One was on the Women Evolve, and I'm not sure if you were here to hear that part. And about the upset that's happening about the 45-second clip of the cultural song, the trail riding song, Boots on the Ground, at the conference, and then this topic of radical repair. So you can take the floor and share with me what you want to share on either one of those topics or both.
Well, number
Well,
one,
number
as you
one, as you
said,
said,
there's a
there's
problem
a
with
problem with
everything black
everything black. Mm-hmm.
in this
In this
country.
country. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Um,
I, I listen. I didn't
I
do any
didn't do any
investigating, but
investigating,
based
but
on what
based on
you
what you
said,
said,
what was
what
done
was done
wrong?
wrong? Well, they said that she played the clip during a break in sessions.
Okay.
Okay. The DJ played the 45-second clip, and women had their fans out, and they were singing Boots on the Ground. They did not play the part of the song, I'm guessing, that talks about moonshine. Like some of the lyrics talks about sipping on moonshine,
Mm-hmm.
and fire barrels rolling. I think they mainly just played the whoa, whoa, got my boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the argument is it shouldn't have been played at all because it was a Christian conference. But when I went to look at it, it's not actually a Christian conference. It's a conference with Christian components to it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of people knew that or understood that.
Well, here's
Well,
the
here's the
thing:
thing.
church folk,
Church folk,
religious folk,
religious folk,
anything that
anything that
may
may
appear to
appear
have
to
God
have God
attached to it
attached to it
is not
is
supposed
not
to have
supposed to
any
have
other
any other
components.
components.
I heard you
I heard
speak
you
about
speak about
Christ turning
Christ
water
turning
into
water into
wine,
wine.
and I actually
And I
spoke
actually
about
spoke
that the
about
other
that the
day
other day. Okay.
because so
Because
many
so many
people say
people
that,
say that,
well,
well,
drinking wine
drinking
is a
wine is a
sin.
sin.
I say, so
I say,
what you're
so what
telling
you're
me is
telling me is
Christ helped
Christ
people
help people
sin.
sin. I mean, if that's the conclusion they coming to, then
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, no,
Well,
no,
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 no, he
no, no,
didn't. I
he
said,
didn't. I
well,
said,
he
well,
turned
he
water
turned
into
water into
wine
wine
so they can
so they can
continue
continue
partying.
partying.
And I told him that wasn't grape juice. It was the best wine, which means it was stronger than the wine they had before.
Now again, I'm not a drinker. I've already told my story about alcohol and all of that, and um, you know, so the scripture is does not say don't drink. It does say it does give an
Nope.
essence of drink responsibly or to drink
Mm-hmm.
in a way that it doesn't impair your sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
So, people say if you can't hold your liquor, then don't drink. Knowing what your personal boundary is with alcohol. I can't do it, so I don't drink. Is that simple?
Right.
And
And that's the
I
and
don't
that's
do
the thing.
social drinking. I don't, someone offers me a drink, it's no thank you. Do you have a virgin strawberry daiquiri or do you have a Shirley Temple? And
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody should be offended if I'm in a social setting and I refuse drinking. But I also know that if I'm in a social setting and someone is drinking, I tend to be the one that's like, I want to make sure that I keep my wits about me. And I encourage people that choose to socially drink to make sure you keep your wits about you. And if you know that you are no longer sober, you definitely should not be getting behind the wheel of a car. You probably should order a Uber or a Lyft, or you should have a designated person driving you, right? CJ,
And
uh, CJ, I am happily married, but
and
thank you for
go ahead.
noticing my appearance. Thank you for the compliment. All right, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
Before I got saved, I was always that designated driver.
Okay.
For some reason, well, listen, I had enough sense to know that if everybody else is drinking, somebody needs to be sober.
Mhm.
So I would designate myself because I wanted to get home alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but listen, and you were speaking on westernized Christianity.
Oh, I'm back.
Yeah, you were speaking on westernized Christianity, and I've had conversations with people that says Christianity is a white man's religion, and I asked them, so why are all the people in scriptures black? What they did, they took what was ours, as always, took what was ours, claimed it, and misrepresented what the scriptures were saying.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
There are some documentaries and some detailed teachings out there about that. Um, I'm gonna recommend. We haven't started reading this yet on the platform, but I did share on Monday some of it. But I'm gonna recommend people get this book right here, An African History of Africa. It is history of Africa as told by African people, African historians, African scientists, African scholars. Um, she spent several years going into some of the most remote places to get her documentation. And that's one of the reasons why it's an international bestseller is because for so long we've had people trying to tell the history of Africa who aren't African. So I said, I want to read the history of Africa from an African perspective, and it's actually been really, really eye opening. Um, Monday we talked about Kempa Vita, the sort of Joan of Arc figure that came out of the Congo. We don't hear about her. We hear about Nzinga, but we don't hear about Kempa Vita. Why do we not hear about Kempavita? Because Kempavita was assassinated by colonial Christianity or by empire Christianity, Catholicism at the time, because she was going around preaching that Jesus is African. She
Mm-hmm.
was doing that in the 1600s. She was going around preaching community unity and not allowing the Portuguese to come in and divide the people. She was preaching black unity and black power, literally. And they said, we got to put a stop to this. So they accused her of being a witch. They condemned her. They arrested her and they burned her at a stake.
You,
Okay?
you, you know what's ironic? It's the witches that accuse those that are not witches of being witches.
Listen. And you know what? Here we are centuries later and it's the same stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, when are we going to wake up? When are we going to see that the same tactics that was used hundreds of years ago to discredit people who were actually trying to bring some sort of unity and solidarity to their culture are the main people who got attacked, got accused, and got unalived? It's the same tactic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, do y'all not see this? Do y'all not see that you're actually the one being used to demonize the person that is actually trying to help women evolve? The think about that. I want y'all to think. This woman got 20,000 black women together in one space to help them and empower their lives at a time when
Mm-hmm.
300,000 black women just lost their jobs. And the only complaint you all have is that she played 45 seconds of a trail ride song and therefore she is demonic and must go. I want you to think about the logic of that. Just think about the logic of that. You don't have this much smoke for the man who is responsible for 300,000 black women losing their jobs over the past couple of months. You don't have smoke for him.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have this smoke for the big ugly bill. I haven't seen you get up and say anything about the big ugly bill and how it's literally going to destroy people's lives. How your grandparents and everything is going to be literally pushed off Medicaid and Medicare and pushed out of their nursing home. You don't have smoke for that, but you have smoke for 20,000 black women getting together to empower themselves, and 45 seconds of a song was played, and now it's a problem. Please help me
Mm-hmm.
to understand the logic in that.
Listen, and the ones that are complaining are probably in the clubs on Friday and Saturday nights anyway, and getting up in the pulpit on Sunday.
But here's the thing. Even if they say she shouldn't have played this particular soundbite at a conference that is based on more than Christianity
Mm-hmm.
in an arena, it's not in the church, it's being held in an arena. If that is the case, if that is the stance you're going to take, then I need you to not do any line dances anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
No Cupid's shuffle, no electric slide. You don't need to do it at your family reunion. You don't need to do it at your barbecue. You don't need to do it at your beach. You don't need to do it at your Greek association, because the premise became they shouldn't have been doing that there.
Mm-hmm.
They can do it other places. No, 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 no. If you're saying it's wrong, then it's wrong everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying it's wrong, let's not be hypocritical here. If you're saying it's wrong, then you're saying it's wrong everywhere. That's what I want people to understand.
Yeah.
You can't say, "Oh, it's okay if we do it at the cookout, but just not in church or just not at a church event." No. If it's not okay, it's not okay.
Right. That's it.
If it's not okay, then it's not okay. So whatever standard you're holding them to because they're in a conference setting, I need you to hold your same self to the same standard.
But that's different.
No, it's not.
No, that's what I call MAGA Republican syndrome.
The logic is not logicking. If you are saying
Exactly.
something, if you are saying something is demonic, then demons don't turn on and off.
Mm-mm.
They don't step in the church and be like, "Oh, I'm a demon over here," and then at the cookout, I'm not a demon. Like, no. If that's the logic you're using, then don't do the dance at all. Don't listen to the song at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, forgiveness. What are your thoughts on radical repair and superficial repair?
Well, yeah, I think radical repair is great. Uh, I actually had a conversation with somebody yesterday on Facebook, and they were talking about get over it. And I don't need to tell you the rest of the conversation before that get over it thing, right? You know exactly what they were talking about.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. They said get over it. So I said, okay, why don't you and your ancestors give up all the money that your
Mm-hmm.
from slavery that was passed down through generations, give that up and get over it. Of course, you know they don't want to do that.
I mean, but we're talking about
They
getting
want to
over
hold
it.
on to the wealth.
If we get over it, then that means you no longer have the wealth accumulated.
Hmm.
Like that's what that
And I
means.
and I and I and my last words to them is that according to God, repentance requires repair.
Mm-hmm. You don't get repentance
Now,
without
you don't like it, go argue with him about it.
yeah. Reparations.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh, but
Got to do
oh,
it.
now let me go here. Let me go here this other part of that because while you were talking, uh, uh, my son has a cousin. My son replaced his brake pads a few times, and he kept telling them, "You need to replace the rotors,
Mm.
right?"
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to spend the money on the rotors because he could afford to have his brake pads changed every 2 months
Mm.
because the rotors were damaging him. Make that make sense?
But I mean, if your rotors go out, isn't that a worse issue eventually?
Yep,
Like, won't
yep.
that tear up your whole car and you have to get a new one?
You can actually the wheel can actually come off.
Mm-hmm.
They can lock while you're traveling at a high speed. They will disintegrate, which will
Mm-hmm.
cause your wheel to come off. So yeah, get your rotors repaired.
And by the time he spends the money on the brakes, right? Isn't it almost like adding up to what it would cost to just replace the rotors?
Actually it was more because this went on for over a year. And guess what? In the end, he had to replace the rotors
That's wild. That's wild.
because they had gotten so bad that they began to disintegrate.
Hmm. Well, I feel like America has and continues to operate in superficial. I won't even say superficial repair. I don't even think we had superficial repair
Right.
because America doesn't want to apologize for anything. That's number one. They don't think they've done anything wrong. They know they have.
Of course.
They know they've done wrong. Uh, but hubris and ego is having them to double down and say, well, not just double down, but just lie. Let's
Yeah. Get louder.
lie and try to reverse everything to make it feel like and seem like they are the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I just look at the envelopian people, and at this point, I'm saying, listen, this is you all's battle. We've been talking about this for several years now. That it's going. But you got to handle yours.
Mm-hmm.
And your ancestral business clearly tells you that y'all should have handled the traders more directly and harshly than y'all did in 1860
Mm-hmm.
and 1868. Because had you handled those traders thoroughly, we wouldn't be having what we having going on today.
Exactly.
So that to me is it's not something that black people can help you figure out. Like you all, that's your unfinished work that you all have to do. Nobody can do that work for y'all. Just like nobody can do our unfinished work with our ancestors. There were things that our ancestors began that we need to continue and carry on. Nobody can do that for us. And we shouldn't
Right.
expect people to do those things for us. But as far as this inequality stuff, that's y'all work. That's the work. And the more that white people try to put it off and try to act like that is not the work that they need to get to, that radical repair, that saying you are not going to take our country back to and devolve it back to inequality, that's your work. That is the work you guys got to do. You have to
Mm-hmm.
stand up to the other side of your ancestral coin, which wants to enslave people. You have to be willing to stand up to those people and say, no, you will not do this, and we will not let you. And right now, they over in the corner crying. I'm like, no, I'm gonna need you to get up, and I'm gonna need you to push back. I'm gonna need you to get up, and I'm gonna need you to stand up, because this is the same spirit that your ancestors faced in 1865. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same spirit. Now, what are you gonna do? Because they're doing what their ancestors would have did. What are you gonna do on the other side of that coin? This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host today, Shantae Charles. I want to thank you for your time and your attention. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness, so continue to go out and be what?
Light.
Light. Thank you again, Pastor Ben, for showing up and having this conversation with us. We will be back on tomorrow, same place, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be well, and most importantly,